All right, welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always ready. What are we exploring today?
Today, we're going down a bit of an unusual path, looking at the connection between the human body, energy, and consciousness.
Sounds intriguing.
It is. We're going to be looking at this model that describes how our bodies can actually generate something called a psychophysical oil.
Okay.
And this oil is supposed to activate and enhance brain function.
Crazy, right. Psychophysical oil. Huh. I've never heard of that. Where'd you dig this up?
Well, it comes from this specific esoteric tradition, and the source material is, let's just say it's pretty symbolic.
Ah, I see. So we're going full esoteric today.
Yeah, but that's what makes it so fascinating. We're here to kind of like explore the core ideas, see what these symbols might mean, and hopefully pull out some interesting insights.
I'm game if you are.
All right, so first things first, this whole model hinges on the idea of this psychophysical oil.
Right, you mentioned that.
Yeah, and it's supposedly produced in the brain and then travels down the spine to the sacrum bone.
Huh. That's interesting. A journey through the body. So what can you tell me about this oil? What's its deal?
Well, that's where I need your expertise.
Hmm?
What can you tell us about this oil and its journey?
All right, well, according to the source, there are a few key areas involved in this whole process. The colostrum, the pineal gland, the pituitary gland, and then finally it ends up at the sacrum bone, which is, located near the solar plexus.
A lot of stops along the way.
It is. And the source really emphasizes the importance of preserving this oil and avoiding its destruction.
Okay, how do we do that?
Well, they actually call out acidic foods and liquids as being responsible for destroying the oil.
So what we eat directly impacts this oil.
Exactly. It's all about maintaining this specific internal environment for this psychophysical oil to thrive. And it's fascinating, this idea really connects with how various spiritual traditions talk about sacred fluids and their importance.
It's like something vital is being generated and circulated within us.
I agree. Now, the source also brings up Kundalini energy.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of Kundalini energy from yoga and stuff. Isn't that like a powerful force?
Exactly. It's often depicted as a serpent coiled at the base of the spine, representing a potent life force. And this model suggests that by preserving sexual energy, we can help raise this psychophysical oil back up the spine.
So we're talking about transforming and redirecting energy.
Absolutely. It's a concept you find in many spiritual traditions. And as this energy moves upward, guess what it activates?
Let me guess. The chakra system.
You got it.
Okay, so just for anyone who's not familiar with chakras, can you give us a quick rundown?
Sure. Think of chakras like energy centers located along your spine, each one associated with different aspects of you. Basic survival instincts, emotions, creativity, all the way up to higher consciousness.
So as this Kundalini energy rises through the chakras, what happens?
Well, the source claims it can actually open up new pathways in the brain, leading to enhanced cognitive function, altered perceptions, even, expanded consciousness.
Wow, that's a pretty big claim.
Yeah.
Does the source give any specific examples of what that might look or feel like?
There's this vivid description of the brain feeling hollow on the inside and expanding its capacity to a full 100%.
That's a powerful image.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have this oil going on a journey, traveling up and down the spine. But how does this actually happen? What does the process look like? Does the source give us a step-by-step?
It does, actually. There's a 7-step oil process outlined in the source material.
7 steps. Okay, I'm all ears. Walk us through it.
So it all starts with the production of this psychophysical fluid in the colostrum. You familiar with the colostrum?
Vaguely.
It's this thin sheet of neurons buried deep within the brain. Some neuroscientists believe it could play a role in consciousness, but honestly, it's still a pretty mysterious area.
So we're starting in a mysterious part of the brain. What's next?
From there, the pineal and pituitary glands come into play. The text describes them as working together to electrically and magnetically charge the fluid.
Electrically and magnetically. It's pretty interesting imagery.
Right. And remember how we talked about the symbolic language? Well, the source uses Santa Claus to represent the colostrum, like a workshop of sorts, and then Joseph and Mary to represent the pineal and pituitary glands.
Okay, so after this charging, where does the fluid go next?
Well, according to the source, it travels down 2 nerves called the Ida and Pingala. They're associated with the flow of energy in yogic traditions, and the oil hangs out at the sacrum, the base of the spine, for a couple of days.
And then, assuming it's not destroyed by those acidic foods and drinks, The Kundalini energy kicks in.
Exactly. And this activation is said to transform the oil into a gas, which then begins its journey back up the spine.
And it goes through all the chakras.
Well, the source mentions that the oil and the gas now passes through 23 vertebrae.
Wait a minute. Don't we only have 24 vertebrae?
You're right, we do. It's an interesting detail, isn't it? Maybe there's some symbolic meaning behind that number.
It does make you wonder.
Yeah. But regardless of that, the oil keeps moving up all the way to the medulla oblongata, the part of the brainstem that controls those really vital functions like breathing and heart rate.
Wow, we're really going deep into the brain now. What happens after the medulla oblongata?
From there, it goes to the pineal gland and then finally reaches the cerebrum, the largest part of the brain. And this is where the big finale happens.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat. What's the grand finale?
The source describes it as a rebirth or resurrection of brain cells, an activation of the pineal gland, and then ultimately a regeneration of the entire body.
It sounds almost like a spiritual awakening.
It does. And
Yeah.
this whole process is symbolized as being born again, a total transformation.
So let me get this straight. We start with this psychophysical oil being produced in a deep, mysterious part of the brain.
Right.
Then it gets charged with help from the pineal and pituitary glands. It travels down the spine, rests a bit, gets transformed into a gas by the Kundalini energy, and then travels back up, activating chakras and eventually leading to a total mind-body regeneration.
You got it.
That's a pretty wild ride.
It is, isn't it?
And it's all symbolized as being born again. That's a pretty powerful metaphor.
It is a powerful metaphor. And it connects to so many spiritual and philosophical traditions that talk about transformation and renewal.
It really does make you think. Even if we approach this whole model metaphorically, there might be something to the idea that we have this untapped potential within us.
This energy that we can learn to cultivate and use for personal growth and change.
It's a pretty fascinating concept.
It is, and it raises a really important question for me. Could there be any, actual physiological basis for what's being described in this model?
What if there's actually something going on in the brain and body that corresponds to these energy flows and transformations?
Exactly. Even if we just think about it metaphorically, it can still inform our understanding of energy, consciousness, and human potential.
Well, I think we've given everyone a lot to think about today. For those listening, we really encourage you to explore these ideas. Maybe do some of your own research, see what resonates with you.
There's a whole world of fascinating information out there. Who knows, maybe this deep dive will spark a new curiosity about what's going on inside each of us.
Exactly. And on that note, thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
Until next time.
See you all soon.